Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today we are unpacking some absolutely fascinating research titled The Architecture of the Deep Processor. And look, if you've ever felt like your everyday quirks are things you need to, sort of hide from the world, the source material we're exploring today completely flips the script. It suggests these behaviors aren't flaws at all. They are literally hidden cognitive superpowers. They're indicators of a highly complex, uniquely wired brain. So if you've ever felt just a little bit misunderstood, get ready because this is going to validate you in a major way.
Now, the source material centers its entire analysis around this specific number, 6. It outlines 6 kind of weird habits that serve as direct indicators of what the researchers call a highly intelligent cognitive architecture. And just to be clear, we aren't talking about being really good at bar trivia or scoring well on a standardized test. We're talking about the actual structural way your brain processes information, solves complex problems, and just navigates the world. While the source details 6 of these habits in total, today we're going to focus our lens deeply on 3 of the most prominent, universally experienced ones so we can really understand the nuts and bolts of this phenomenon.
Okay, let's dive into this. And be totally honest with me here. Do you ever catch yourself pacing the kitchen, just muttering your thoughts out loud? Maybe you're working through a really difficult email and you're actually whispering the sentences to your monitor. Or you're in the car having a full-blown debate about a major life decision with the empty passenger seat, right? For a lot of us, the immediate reaction is to look around and desperately hope nobody saw us doing it. We've been conditioned to think that talking to ourselves is a sign that we're, losing our grip. But keep that image in your head as we look at this next habit.
How about this one? Do you have a perfectly clean house, like pristine living room, wiped down counters, but you have one localized disaster zone? Maybe it's a chair in the corner of your bedroom, or actually, scratch that, it's probably that chaotic doom pile of papers, mail, and random charging cables right on the corner of your desk. It's that one specific spot you just can't seem to conquer. Again, society tells us this is just laziness or disorganization, but the source text asks us to look much, much closer at what is really happening beneath the surface of these exact quirks.
And that brings us to the core framework of our explainer today, the deep processor. Basically, this is a highly intelligent cognitive architecture that utilizes seemingly quirky behaviors as complex processing tools. I want you to really absorb that for a second. Your perceived weirdness, the muttering, the localized doom piles, they aren't bugs in your operating system. They are the system. If you are a deep processor, your brain is essentially a high-performance engine taking in massive, massive amounts of data, and it needs these unique, unconventional exhaust valves just to keep functioning at a high level. You aren't broken, guys. This is exactly how you are wired for optimal intelligence.
All right, so let's look at habit 1, verbal reasoning.
This is the scientific term for what we just talked about, talking to yourself. The source text specifically notes that these behaviors, quote, secretly signal high intelligence. When you're vocalizing your thoughts, you are demonstrating a mind that has so much activity, so many interconnected variables to weigh all at once that your internal whiteboard simply isn't big enough. You literally have to push the data out into the physical world just to look at it objectively. It's a trait that proves you possess a really complex mind capable of deep analysis.
So here is how this process actually works in real time. Step 1. Externalize thoughts aloud. By turning a sort of nebulous, abstract thought into a physical sound wave, your brain is forced to clarify and organize the information. Step 2, work through complex problems. Once the problem is out there in the air, your brain can now interact with it almost as if it's receiving advice from a second party. You are essentially acting as your own personal sounding board. And finally, step 3, achieve faster resolution. Because you've engaged multiple sensory pathways, speaking and hearing simultaneously, a deep processor arrives at the solution way faster than someone trying to juggle it all silently in their head. It's just pure cognitive efficiency.
Moving right along, that brings us to habit 2, selective organization.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what's going on with that funny, very human contradiction we discussed earlier, the localized mess. You've got the messy area on the left, but an organized mind on the right. A messy desk isn't a lack of discipline, it's because deep processors intentionally deploy selective organization to fiercely protect their cognitive bandwidth. Organizing a drawer takes mental energy. Filing papers takes mental energy. A deep processor unconsciously decides, you know what? The aesthetic perfection of this desk corner is absolutely not worth the mental calories required to maintain it. They allow the physical environment in one low-priority area to slide, specifically so they can route 100% of their organizational energy into structuring their thoughts, their massive projects, and their ideas. The mess isn't a failure at all. It is a strategic prioritization of mental resources.
Okay, next up is habit 3, the obsession burst.
Now, if you are a deep processor, you are going to know exactly what this timeline feels like. It's that sudden, all-consuming need to learn absolutely everything about a random topic that has literally nothing to do with your life or career. Let's walk through the life cycle here. Day 1, you discover a random topic. Maybe it's, I don't know, the history of 18th century clockmaking, or the exact physics of how a suspension bridge works. Day 2, intense research. You are entirely down the rabbit hole. We're talking 20 browser tabs open, watching obscure documentaries at 2 a.m. Day 3, absolute expert. You now know enough to confidently deliver a TED Talk on this subject. You get the nuances, the vocab, the whole shebang. And then, the punchline. Day 4, move on completely. The itch has been scratched. The data has been downloaded. Your brain just needed a complex puzzle to solve to keep its gears turning, and once the pattern was mastered, it dropped it to go look for the next challenge. It is high-speed information processing disguised as a fleeting hobby.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it perfectly summarizes the whole myth versus reality situation we've uncovered from the source. It all comes down to a matter of translation. We have the societal myths on one side, talking to yourself is crazy, being messy is lazy, and random obsessions are just distracting. But the deep processor reality is entirely different. These behaviors are actually verbal reasoning, selective organization, and high-speed information processing. Society looks at the output and judges it against standard neurotypical expectations, completely missing the profound, highly intelligent engineering happening behind the scenes.
So, the crucial point is this. Let's solidify the true architecture of a highly intelligent mind based on our case studies today. A deep processor isn't just someone who thinks harder. It's an architecture that actively utilizes verbal reasoning to externalize and solve complex problems. It deliberately deploys selective organization to fiercely protect its mental energy, and it eagerly engages in short bursts of intense obsession to continually test, stretch, and satisfy its massive capacity for pattern recognition. This is how the engine runs, guys.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. Based on what we've learned today, what other flaws that you've maybe been hiding or apologizing for are actually your greatest cognitive strengths? The way we judge intelligence is fundamentally changing, and the very things that make you weird might just be the undeniable proof of your brilliance. So take a close look at your habits this week. You might just be a deep processor working at maximum capacity. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible material. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and I will see you next time.